Hi, I'm Jason Hill.
And I'm James Blackburn.
And this is No Joke Survival.
Preparations for the average family.
Now our goal is to teach you some simple and easy ways to get started with prepping and survival in case of a natural disaster or a crisis situation.
In this week's episode, we're going to briefly explain the 6 core areas of preparation, and then we're going to focus on the tools and techniques for starting a fire.
That's right. And but before we get kicked off with that, why don't we tell the folks a little bit about ourselves? Go ahead and start.
Well, Jason, as you're aware, but the audience is not, I have had a ton of experience working in the outdoors, as well as just enjoying the outdoors. Over the last couple decades that I've been around, I've traveled quite a bit around America and done a lot of mountaineering, a lot of mountain biking, rock climbing. I was going to say spelunking, but really technically it's caving, and I read somewhere that cavers actually rescue spelunkers, so we're going to say caving on this. Okay. And I've done, a lot of the techniques that we're going to show in the 13 episodes of the show will actually be things that I've done in the field over the last few years. And much like yourself, too, I did have a little bit of experience with the Boy Scouts as a kid, and that was a great place to start, because they teach you so many different things that you can use, not just in the mountains, but in life.
That's right.
And I've enjoyed it. I've had a good time being out in the mountains. And, as you're aware, I moved here in 1998 to New Mexico, and we have mountains and desert out here, and we get lots of it. Yeah.
A lot of different climates, too.
Yeah, we have 5 climatic zones in the state out of 7. So we get to practice these techniques all the time. Now, Jason, what about you? You have a variety of skills too, right?
I do. Hey, Danny.
Hey. How's it going?
We're doing introductions. Why don't you go ahead and jump in and tell the folks a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Well, my name is Danny Lenski, and I guess of the 3 of us, I'm kind of the newest to the group as far as survival, whatnot. I was always raised with the mentality of hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. My family used to move around a lot when I was little, so I was able to experience a few different terrains. My mother, sister, and I survived through a tornado, and I'm sure that's going to be a long story for another day, but I could be here a half hour.
We'll dedicate a whole episode to it.
Exactly. But
it's an awesome story.
But as far as the way I was raised, I love camping, I love fishing, I love hiking, I love caving. I heard something about spelunking, not really wanting to call it spelunking. And my dad was born and raised on a farm, and so I spent a lot of time around horses, most especially, but cows, a few chickens here and there, and a couple goats. One in particular, whenever I got 5 feet from him, always good to see you too, off you get. And my mother was my mother was raised on in a military family, and so we definitely got the discipline that way, and so I guess it was good to be well-rounded. I'm not afraid to get my hands dirty for the sake of learning, so it's going to be us learning together with the 3 of us. But,
and that's good, because that you have to do these things hands-on and get that experience. It's not just something you read about.
Exactly.
You need to have that actual practice.
It can take years reading it in a book, but then once you try and put it into practical use, you think, oh, wait. How did that go again? But anyway,
now, speaking of practical use, you've had a lot of practical use out in the field with some of the techniques and tools of our show, right?
Yeah, I have. And
I hate to interrupt. I'm going to actually have to run so I can work on the beginner's box for later on. So
great.
I will be back, and
right.
I'm sorry.
Sounds good. How about a high five?
A little lower for the short one.
Like half your size, man.
Yeah. Hey, you didn't get a high five though, so yeah.
Well, I was in the Boy Scouts as a kid and got to do a lot of things out in the woods and do those hands-on making things, building shelters, going on hikes, and a lot of exploring. And as I got older, I went into the military and I served some time there. And then I also do search and rescue. And it all kind of tied in with my love for the outdoors and the passion that I have for it. And so I'm constantly out in the wilderness areas having to navigate, support myself, and use all these skills that I have. But we'll get into more of that later. Let's just tell the folks real quick the 6 core areas that we're going to be discussing in today's episode.
Well, the first 2 are water and food.
Then we're going to do shelter and security.
And then energy and sanitation.
So stick with us. When we come back, we're going to go into depth about all these topics and teach you some ways that you can get started.
All right, thanks a lot for watching, but tune back. Good stuff coming up.
Yeah. Hi, and welcome back to No Joke Survival.
Preparations for the average family. Sorry, man.
No worries. I'm Jason Hill.
I'm James Blackburn.
And in this episode, we're talking about the 6 core areas of preparation. And just to summarize, those were...
Well, we got water, food, and shelter.
Security, energy, and sanitation. Now, we're going to go in depth with the first one, which is water.
Yes.
Do you want to go ahead and take that?
Well, water is the most important thing in life. You can survive a few days without food, but you cannot survive without water. And so we're going to talk a little bit about ways that you can store water for emergency situations or even gather water in sort of situations like what we're going to talk about on the show.
Yep. Okay, and you know, some of those are rain barrels. Those are great because you can collect a lot of water just from the runoff of your home. They're fairly inexpensive to set up, and all you have to do is, once you collect it, is boil it or purify it, filter it, and that's some good drinking water.
Exactly, and water, you know, is important for drinking, but also for sanitation is another thing on the list, for keeping things clean, wounds, clothing, and just keeping your general morale up because, you know, water is such an awesome thing. As a matter of fact, I'm going to show you real quick a container that you can store water in for emergency things. So check this out over here. Now, I'm probably going to get myself a hernia, but this is water.
And that's 5 gallons. And these are really common. A lot of people use these. You can put them in your garage and store water long term. And you can put a little bleach in there, or they have some other additives. But having a bunch of these on hand is great because not only do you have this water, but as you collect more water, you can store it in here. And they're really inexpensive.
Yeah, and water, you know, doesn't really have a expiration date. If you need to use it, you can. Just make sure it's clean.
Yeah, you can always just boil it.
All right, I'm going to put this away.
Another great thing is just cases of bottled water. You get these at the store all the time. They sell them by the case. They're inexpensive. And it's so easy just to buy 2 or 3 or 4 of those and have them in your garage. And
you should always have them in your vehicle with you anyway, because especially where we live, the Southwest, with so much desert, your car breaks down and you don't have any water with you at all, you could be in a lot of trouble because there's a lot of spaces between towns out here.
That's right. Dehydration sets in quick, and when it does, you don't always think clearly or make the best decisions. So staying hydrated is very important.
You also have, did you talk about the purification tablets at all? Because that's something else that you can buy at the store that is a nice thing to have and weighs almost nothing to put in your backpack if you're going to the mountains.
That's right.
And they have them at home as well.
All right, so our next item is shelter.
Yes. Shelter is important. Obviously, you got to be out of the elements. If it's raining or snowing, and you're out in that, your experience is going to be a lot more negative than if you have a roof over your head. And obviously a roof can come in a variety of different ways.
That's true.
Everything from a house to a camper to a tent, and then a few techniques that I know you've practiced out in the mountains with, you know, debris huts and things like that, right?
Absolutely. And not only that, I mean, it could be just protection from the elements. So it could be a poncho or even a jacket or a hat protecting you from the sun. When we talk about shelter, it's just kind of a general protection from the elements. Now, some of the fun ones are like a snow cave. If you ever get a chance to do that in the wintertime, if you can dig yourself out a snow cave, and it has to have a way to have air come into it. But what happens is if it's cold and windy outside, there could be at least a 30-degree difference outside than inside with your body heat radiating. And so it's a good way to keep alive.
And one of the things that we touched on in our first segment was, I said I'm a caver, and caves are also a good place for shelter in an emergency situation. Obviously, you want to make sure it's not
bears.
Minus the bears, and you want to make sure it's the one that's not going to flood while you're in there too. But it's a great way to get out of the wind and the rain. and the elements in general in an emergency situation.
That's right. But you know, the whole general concept of shelter is being able to maintain like your temperature, your core temperature, so you either don't get hypothermia or like heat stroke or anything like that from the elements. So you really need to protect yourself so that you can function to stay alive.
Exactly, and you know, shelter is, it's a big thing.
Yeah.
So we're going to jump on to the next one now, folks, which is energy. Now, obviously, energy comes in a variety of ways as well. He's got more of it than he can
That was
do
the coffee
anything
this
with.
morning.
Yes, but energy comes in the form of electricity, but obviously you don't always have electricity for that form of energy, but you can have a generator or solar panels and that sort of stuff as well. What are some of the other ones that you know about that you've used?
Well, a lot of people have a fireplace in their home, so if you have a nice stockpile of dry wood, not only will it provide heat, but you can also use it for cooking, which will also allow you to purify water, if the case be.
And I can tell you, my furnace went out when I lived in Chicago in the winter, and we heated the house for over a week with the fireplace. We slept in front of it, and that saved us that week. So it's worth its weight in gold. Now, there's obviously wind power as well, you know, windmills and stuff like that. Not everybody has access to one of those, but you know, and the world never runs out of wind. So we
Same
got
thing
plenty of that.
with hydroelectric. If you have the right equipment, you can harness the water from like a stream, if you have a consistent stream, and that will also generate power, which you can store in batteries and use for a later time.
Well, even
similar to a
proof.
solar system.
Yeah, well, even proof in our pioneer ancestors, they always used the water to power their mills
Oh, yeah, the
to
grain
grind
mills.
stuff. Yeah, so it's a great technique and an obvious thing if you have access to it.
That's right. All right, food is also a very important core element
Yes.
for survival. And food can come in a bunch of different packages. You could either have food that's like dehydrated and has been prepared ahead of time that you add water to, or like canned goods. But it also could be like hunting and going out and finding animals and having to prepare them yourself. So there's a lot of
true,
different
too.
types.
Well, and when it comes to food, let's say you're in your home and you lose your power. So you have that food in the refrigerator and in the freezer, but isn't there limited shelf life on that sort of stuff when you do lose power?
Absolutely. And what you want to do is if you do have stuff, you want to use the items in your refrigerator first, because they're going to go bad before the items in the freezer.
Right. But it's a good 3 to 4 hours before that stuff spoils, but that's really about it, right?
Yeah, it just depends. And if you open the refrigerator, close it as quick as possible to maintain that temperature. Same thing with the freezer. And so you'll run through those items and then try to use all your canned and dry goods last, since they're going to last the longest. So you use all your perishables first.
Yep, and didn't you have some emergency rations and food, stuff like that the military would use or even take with you hiking on a normal hike? Don't you have anything like that?
Absolutely. Rations are great. And hey, here's
Hey guys,
Danny.
what are we talking about?
We're talking about 6 core areas of preparation.
Nice.
And
we were
just,
still on food.
yep.
Oh, well, food is awesome.
Yeah.
I eat like I have a hollow leg, so, well, I have our beginner's box. I'd hate to kind of jump on it. We can finish up our 6 core, and then we can get into our beginner's box.
Yeah, we'll just mention security is really important because you want to be able to protect the assets that you have in your home. And so if you have stuff and there's a crisis, typically other people are going to try to find that because they weren't prepared. So
Right.
the basics of security is being able to take care of yourself and your family.
And I guess I heard someone mention sanitation.
Sanitation,
so-
yes. We are all very sanitized. we love to be clean. It's obviously important because water, you know, if you need it to drink, you need to drink it first. But if you can stay clean while you're out in an emergency situation, it's also very important.
Yeah, the basic concept there is to avoid disease and things that typically spread once services go down.
Having an awful smell doesn't exactly improve morale either. Just saying.
So you brought the
darn.
beginners.
Need almost a theme song for this. And since we're kind of focusing on fire starting, we have all of the different items for fire starting in our beginner's box today. So I guess
Sweet.
probably the first thing that we want to talk about is our very traditional flint and steel. And did you want to take it away there?
You know what? We're going to have a competition here really quick, so we'll just take these items out and show them real
Nice.
fast.
All right. So we have also, I guess our next one would be waterproof fire starters, fire matches, obviously. You can have a number of different containers. This one here is in a little Ziploc bag. There's also a container, a waterproof container that they can be in as well. These have the starter on the side. And then pop that out there. What's another one in here? Ooh, this one, magnesium. You want to?
Yes.
I'm going to give this one to you. Explain magnesium.
This is Jason's magnesium, but this stuff is great. You shave it off, it starts a fire really quick. He put holes in it to get more
Yeah, I saw
shavings
that
of
in
it.
here.
What I did is I drilled through it because it made the shavings just a whole lot easier.
Well, that sure saves time. If you're at home and you can just drill a little bit and then just
Yeah.
sprinkle it on there if you don't want to pull out your favorite knife. This is probably one of my absolute favorites, is a cotton ball with a little bit of Vaseline, and that way the Vaseline can catch the fire, and you don't need to soak this, right? You just need to put a little bit
No, you
on
just
there,
take
right?
some Vaseline, you just kind of rub it in, and that Vaseline catches really quick with just a spark, and it burns for a long time.
Nice.
And
Well, and-
we'll show that.
And this one also is so cost efficient. You can buy a giant bag of cotton balls and a thing of Vaseline, and this costs maybe a penny. So, in the grand scheme of things, and it's no longer just for burning ants, kids.
Yes, we know what it's for.
Yes.
It's a magnifying
So it's
glass.
magnifying glass. So if you have that, you can try and use the sun to make a fire. And so I guess that's actually all we got
That's
here
about
so
it.
far. So.
But when we come back, we're going to have us a little competition to see who can get a fire started.
Exciting.
So stay tuned, and
Come
we're
on
going to
back.
have a lot of fun.
Awesome.
I'm going to be the fastest though. Because,
No,
We'll see.
I'm
I don't know.
super
We'll
good
see.
with one of these.
he is pretty good at this.
Danny, you're
Put
gonna
a-
just wait.
There's going to be a secret flamethrower in the back that as long as we don't
you have
set
to get the
everything on
fire
fire.
extinguisher and make sure we don't. Hi, and welcome back to No Joke Survival.
Preparations for the average family.
I'm Jason Hill,
I'm James Blackburn.
And I'm Danny Linsky.
and on this segment, we're going to have us a fun little competition using the flint and steel, and just have fun showing you how to get a fire going.
We will see. I don't know. I'm putting my money on that guy.
Yes.
James is
Don't
pretty
disappoint
good,
me.
I'm the fastest fire starter in the world. You have no competition here.
right? We should probably think safety though first, which is always important. And you know, not saying that we've lit stuff on fire before, but
Just
I'm
saying.
sure glad Danny has the
Just-
fire
just
extinguisher
saying.
handy.
Yeah.
And James, you
Yes.
may want to do something
Yes,
with that.
I think I'm going to tie back this here mop because we don't want any incidents here.
Should be getting your face up in there.
Yes. So there you go. Safety first.
Now, before we actually get the contest kicked off, we went out into the field and did a little demonstration of starting a fire, and we'd like to show you that video right now. So check this out.
So here we are out in the field, and we're going to be constructing a basic fire using flint and steel.
Now, some things that you want to consider are being safe. And so we have a shovel, we dug a little hole in the dirt, cleared around it, and we also have water. So that when we're done, we're going to show you how to properly put out the fire to where it's completely extinguished.
And so the first thing that you want to do when considering a fire and keeping it safe is your location. So what you'll want to do is you'll want to try and find a level ground, and if there's any kind of debris, which there will be, you'll need to clear it out, kind of make sure that you have no kind of grass, nothing dead around, or anything that could catch on fire.
So to get started, we need to collect our fuel. And in order for the fire to actually catch, it's got to have different stages. You need some small kindling, some medium size, and then some larger sticks, and you build them up as you go. And so if you guys want to start collecting up some materials, I'll start building a little bird's nest to catch our spark.
Yeah, I see a lot of really good stuff really close by.
All right, get going.
Okay, if you have some really dry grass available or other materials, you can make kind of what's called a basket. And I like to do that just because it tends to
give you a little area to work with, especially for catching the spark of your flint and steel. And when it's done, it typically looks kind of like a bird's nest. And you can fill this with additional dry leaves, dry material. But what this also does is if, for whatever reason, you need to move this to a different location, you can catch your spark in there and actually carry it, at least for a few seconds, until it really gets going to another location. And if that's the case, then you build it up into a little bit bigger basket. But this is just a basic one, some branches. We're ready to get this into our fire and get it lit. Okay, so what I got here is a Swedish flint and steel, and they make a lot of different types, but basically what this does is it creates a really hot spark when you scrape it. And the reason I like these is because you don't need an additional fuel source like a lighter that needs butane, etc. And even if it's wet, it's still going to throw a spark. So I'm going to see if I can get this going.
Sometimes it takes a couple tries,
Okay,
but there it goes. The man is a master.
go ahead.
And so from here, you'll want to always just keep trying to feed your fire before it goes out.
Welcome back. That was a fun video.
It was. It was. And you know, when we were out there, I noticed that right before you got started, or before the flame really got large, you kind of stuck a stick right in the ground. I mean, what purpose was that for?
Oh yeah, what I was doing is, imagine the stick in the ground, and what I was doing is putting twigs kind of up at an angle, and that was to allow oxygen to get up underneath it, as opposed to just laying stuff flat on top of each other and then it can't get any air.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's just a little technique that I learned, kind of like building a little teepee.
Yeah, I was always taught the teepee, and then when I saw that stick going, I'm like, well, that's quicker.
Lots of variations. I was wondering where my hat was throughout that whole thing.
Yeah, you didn't have very much hair on your head.
No, I still
It's
don't.
mutual. You both have.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm saying here.
She shaved her beard this morning.
I did. I'm sorry, guys.
All right, so what do we got here, guys?
What we have is some grass that we got from outside. I'm not quite sure how well it's going to burn, but what we're going to do is try to get it started. I also got a little bit of that cotton ball with the Vaseline. And
That's, I think, kind of, stacking the deck a little bit on there if this is a contest.
you know,
I don't need
One
no
would call
stinking
that
cotton ball.
cheating.
Cheating.
Saying.
No, I don't need a cotton ball to win this
No.
contest.
A mascot that way.
I am
Right.
confident that I'm going to win this thing.
All right. Well, what if I think that maybe without further ado, we'll get started. Looks like we have the flint and steel here, and then you have, looks like a
Yep.
little flint, and then,
this is my little pocket keychain. It's got a flashlight and P38, but I also have a little mini flint here I always carry with me.
Yep.
all right. Are we
So-
ready? Hey, don't get started now.
I'm just
Are we
gonna do
ready?
a demo.
Let's get this going. Ready, set, wait for it. You know, he started since I had.
Oh, look, mine broke already.
No. See, I think that my odds were already pretty
Oh.
all right. Oh, see. All right. Stacking the deck a little bit. He's already getting some sparks.
Oh, no!
No! Get a cotton ball. Oh, okay. He must have had a cotton ball in his pocket.
Wow, that's a good one, dude.
Dang.
I'm
That'd
impressed.
keep me warm anyway for many nights.
I guess
but- All right. Put that
I have
on.
made fire too.
This is it. If you want to see us more, feel free to visit us on Facebook at facebook.com/NoJokeSurvival. There you can ask us questions. You can also visit our website at nojokesurvival.com, and there are links to the videos. And come back and visit us next week. And next week we're going to talk about what to do when
There's no water.
Thank you so much. We'll
Thanks,
hope to
everybody.
see you. Drink some water before watching the episode. That way you don't feel so parched.
Yeah,
All
exactly.
right.
That was,
Yeah.
And some of these other ones right here, we have things falling on the ground. Oh, I think I may have wet myself a little bit.
If you're up on a mountain, you may want to go down into a valley, you know, or observe the area. Some lime.
Oh my God, what is that? What is that, dude? I
Probably a Sasquatch. They're all over the place.
this is important. You don't want to wipe your backside with something that might be poisonous.
What you want to do is literally just sit down and listen.
I kind of blew my way through there pretty badly. There was a lot of outtakes. It's back, dude! It's back! Ah! Where is it? There it goes!
That's awesome. You never know what you're going to find in the wild. Love it. Or some sort of area where you're going to find people and be rescued.
Oh, man, that hurts! And now for a blooper.
I literally got ants in my pants. While I was talking, I could feel them crawling down my butt crack.
Welcome to No Joke Survival.
Preparations for the average family.
I'm Jason Hill,
And I'm James Blackburn.
and on this week's episode, we're going to talk about water. And the whole goal of this show
Hey
is...
guys, sorry I'm late.
Oh, hey.
We're here to talk
Here's
about
Danny.
water. Whew. All right, well, I drink water like it's going out of style, so I was thinking, water. Wait, the episode.
Yeah, water's
Sorry,
important.
guys. Sorry.
So, did you have a story or something?
Well, I mean, as far as water goes, I mean, I used to live in Alabama, and back in 1995, our house was totaled in a tornado, and we lived with tornado watches and warnings all the time, and so every time, we would end up getting those warnings, we were always then doing all the kind of preparations that you would want to take if you know a storm is coming. Mm-hmm. And so in our case, we had water already set up, but in that case, it was actually kind of late, so we had a lot less water than we had anticipated. But
What were some of the things that you did, since you knew that you needed to store some water?
usually what we always like to do when you know that a storm is coming is, in our situation, I mean, we knew what water we had, so we had city water, and so we knew that if the power went out, there was still a limited amount of water versus a well, and you think, my pump doesn't work. And so we would fill up our tubs. My mom and dad are both avid antique collectors, and so we always had a pitcher and wash basin in every bathroom that we would then fill the pitcher up with water so we could wash our hands. We would fill up all of the empty water bottles we had. We would try and fill up stock pots with water and whatnot. That way we could have as much water as possible, because the way I was always taught, you always want to have a gallon of water per person per day.
At a minimum.
Exactly, at a minimum, because that also includes drinking, cooking, and bathing.
That's right. And so, yeah, as far as if you know in advance that you're losing your water, which is rare, but if you do, the bathtub is great. And they do sell these big plastic containers that you can fill up. But if you don't have one of those, just fill that bathtub up anyway. You can always boil and filter the water.
Yeah. And you could do the same exact thing to fill up the sinks in the house as well.
The sinks?
Another one, and one of the techniques that we showed in our last episode is plastic containers for water.
You got
I
one
have
right
this
over there.
I have this big one right here.
I swear you just like lifting that thing up.
I do. It shows how strong I really am.
That's why I put it on that side.
Yeah. So this is another technique for saving water and storing it in an emergency situation. 5 gallons right here, fresh and ready to go.
And these containers are very durable, so you can bang them around. They're going to stay and prevent...
Drop them usually, they're fine. Not from 2 stories.
Just don't drop it on your foot.
Another neat little trick is, anything you might not normally think of as a vessel that will hold water, but like your trash can. Now, granted, it's always got a trash bag in there, but pull the trash bag out and you fill that with water. Again, you can boil and filter it later. The object is to just have some water in case you're going to lose it.
Yeah.
you know.
Yep.
And you can buy bottled water and stockpile and everything else. But those are just some neat little tricks for when you know it's going to be gone or turned off.
Something else I was always taught as well is if you buy bottled water, that's great, but you don't want to keep it in the sun. And if you keep it in any particular long time, it doesn't hurt the water, but it kind of affects the taste a little bit because of the plastic.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just them getting a little finicky.
Now, when we come back from the break, we're going to discuss ways that if you don't know in advance and all of a sudden your water is shut off, what do? How are you going to acquire water and how are you going to filter and purify it? We'll talk about that as soon as we come back. Hi. Welcome back to No Joke Survival.
Preparations for the average family.
I'm Jason Hill.
And I'm James Blackburn.
Now, on our last segment, we discussed some ways to have water if you know in advance that they're going to shut it off, which is actually pretty rare.
Yeah, exactly. We don't always get an advance warning that an emergency situation is coming. So we have a few techniques that we can show people, or describe at least, for situations when the water is gone unexpectedly.
Gone.
Yeah.
You go home, you turn on the faucet, nothing.
Yep.
What do?
Well, and as we've said this before, water is the source of life. Without water, you won't survive more than a day or two, so it's very important to have this. So a few techniques are, well, rain barrels.
Rain barrels are fantastic.
And do you have a rain barrel at your place?
I do. And what's great about it is, some people use trash cans or they use these big 50-gallon barrels and just have your gutter go into it with a filter. And you can even put a little faucet at the bottom and run a hose. But the idea is to be able to just collect the water, and then later you can filter and purify it.
Exactly. So the container that it's stored in, it just has to be able to hold the water because it can be cleaned later, no matter how dirty the water might be.
Yeah, and that's great, because 50 gallons rainwater and you don't have to do anything; it just sits there.
Yeah, and you collect it just without a costing a dime, just whatever the barrel costs itself.
That's it, nature.
So another technique is for folks to have bottled water in the house, in the pantry. Just have yourself a case of that stuff sitting around, because if you had 24 bottles of water and you had no water in your home, that you'd be like gold.
Yeah, and at the price, $2 or $3 for a case of water.
Yep.
You should have numerous of them. Stack them up in your garage. Have not only a couple days, but even a week or two. We've seen numerous natural disasters where the response to get the help to some of these people is actually weeks.
It is, and so if you're not prepared and you're not thinking about these things in advance, it could be a troublesome situation for you.
That's right.
Which brings me to the next thought on water is you can actually drain your hot water heater if you need to, right?
Absolutely. And there's water in there, like 30 gallons or different sizes.
Right.
But there's a little valve at the bottom, and you can open that up and put a bucket underneath there and just drain that water out. And it's a great emergency water source that's already in your home that most people don't think about.
Which brings us to the next thing that I was thinking of, is that you could still have water in the lines as well, which is similar to it just being stored there, like in a hot water heater, but in the lines itself.
Yeah, and that's one of those things where, unfortunately, if you go to your kitchen sink and you turn it on and it runs for a few seconds and then shuts off, you've kind of wasted that water that was in the line trying to figure out your water shut off. Right. But you might be able to then go to the bathroom sinks, get a container. If there's any pressure in the line, you might be able to get a little bit of water out of that. And even if it's a glass of water, that's a good glass of water.
Right, and I wouldn't even thought of that particular thing, that there is extra water already in the lines to start with. Mm-hmm. Now, can you tell me and the audience a little bit about the transpiration then? Yeah,
transpiration is a really neat process where you kind of let Mother Nature do the work for you. And what it is, if you have a plastic bag, kind of like a trash bag, and you wrap it around the green branches of a tree. So you find yourself a tree with lots of green leaves on it, and you wrap it around and you tie it off.
Right.
And what happens is the sun will heat that up, okay? And to put it in simpler terms, the leaves are going to sweat out their moisture. And when they do, it's all going to condensate on the inside of that bag and drip down to the lowest point. And so after a day in the sun, you can actually have a a whole bunch of water in there, and you can drink that. It doesn't have to be filtered or purified at all.
We're talking about transpiration, and I haven't actually tried that technique in the field yet, but I think next time I'm out, I will try it just to learn how to do that.
Gives it
Yeah.
a nice green flavor,
Yeah.
I imagine.
So, we got our beginner's box.
I do.
Beginner's box,
Yay!
beginner's box, woo!
I need some kind of noisemaker. I sound so anticlimactic compared to these guys.
So what all do we have in the beginner's box?
So today's beginner's box is all about water and water purification.
That's right.
You know, acquiring water. So let us actually go. Talk to me. What is this for?
That's for doing the water heater.
Okay. All right. So with some models of water heater, I mean, you can't really just crank off anything yourself. So if you have a wrench, that way you can open it up, get the water out. And sometimes the water might be, you know, depending on how old your machine is, a little rusty. I mean, that's a maybe. So
But
don't
still
forget,
cleanable, though.
Keep it exactly. It's still potable. Just keep it clean. This is a really
That looks
nifty thing.
interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if you
I'll
want to
help
pop
you.
that open.
Let me see this tank here.
Yeah, this is a neat little stove.
Looks like a dental tool or something. Yeah.
What's cool with this is you just thread it on here, and it's got a little clicker. It'll automatically ignite. And it's a fuel source so that you can take your pan, rest it on there.
Boil your water.
Once you open that up, yeah, and boil your water.
This works nicely if you are in one of those places where you don't necessarily have a fireplace, and if your electricity goes out, great way to boil your water.
Yeah, because that's
potable
really
water.
important is to have clean water to
Yes.
drink. So having
Yeah.
a backup source that you can do that with is really important.
Sweet.
So this guy that's sticking right out is bleach. I mean, you can use just whatever kind of bleach. Don't use too much. You use, I believe it's a tablespoon per 5 gallons.
Teaspoon.
Teaspoon. Oh my gosh,
yeah.
I'm going to kill you. It is a teaspoon per 5 gallons of water. And then after you put the bleach into the water, it's good to save, you know, to wait a half an hour, give it that time to really kind of purify the water, and then it's completely safe to drink.
That's
So,
right.
Then we have, this is what's called a sterno. So all you have to do, if you just pop it open, you can use, you know, just can opener, pair of scissors, whatnot. There's a fuel source in here, and you can just light it up. And this is similar to this guy, to where you can use it, just put a pot of water on, and then it boils up.
Yeah, and I think restaurant supply places sell these like in bulk
Yes.
for
Yeah.
Yes, they do.
banquets and
Exactly,
stuff like
those big buffet things that they do where
Exactly.
the heat's
Hotels.
underneath, yeah.
Perfect. This, actually, do you want to explain what this is? This is the
Well,
solar
this is
water
a
filtration?
water filter, and basically you're going to attach it, and you fill this up with your dirty water. You put that on there, and then you're going to squeeze that out into a container, and it's drinkable
Completely
water.
safe to drink. Nice.
Yeah,
Very cool.
This last little
very
guy.
simple.
All right. Wah! I was afraid that was going to happen. This, we have just a few different water filtration tablets, right? So
Yep.
what are the differences between these, or is there any difference?
Yeah, there's a couple. One is actually kind of for like flavor, because water, when you treat it, can kind of taste really bad.
Yep.
But this one here is just, you know, you add 2 tablets to a quart of water. You wait 5 minutes and you kind of shake it up, make sure it gets on the cap, and then you wait another 30 minutes, and that treats a quart or a liter of water.
Nice.
Very cool.
All right.
And then this
Show me
here,
this.
this is just a water straw, okay? And I love these because I take them camping, but you can walk up onto a muddy puddle and just stick it down in there and start drinking
Filters
away.
it out right
And so
away.
just that filters out enough to where it's potable,
Nice.
completely potable.
Yep,
That's intense.
Yeah, it's
Man,
awesome.
the things they invent nowadays. That's
And there are a variety of different filtering devices that I've seen over the years, and they all seem to do the same nice job of getting out anything that could make you sick, which obviously, you know, dirt don't hurt, but bugs do. So,
yep. And
Now-
especially the little bugs that you can't see.
yeah, the
So-
little tiny ones, yeah.
Now, we covered our beginner's box items, and we're going to actually have a contest in the last segment of the show. But we have a few things to talk about as far as water purification and filtering and things that you do for that. And so you have pre-purchased water filters, something along these lines, which are
Right.
great.
Okay.
But what happens if you don't have one of these handy?
That's very true.
Well, you want to make your own water filter. And so you can use coffee filters or like a clean cotton t-shirt, things like that.
Cheesecloth, right?
Cheesecloth, to try to filter out as much of the dirty stuff as possible and then boil that water.
And you can also simulate essentially the ground and then virtually then the groundwater. You can have different layers if you have a container, and if you want to go that far, you can get medium-sized rocks, large-sized rocks, and then soil, and then kind of pour your water out, and hopefully it'll come through with that cheesecloth
That's
and the
right. A
filter.
little charcoal.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, it's
Charcoal
a-
goes a long
That's
way
what's
too.
in a lot of these filters is charcoal. So you can make a fire and put some of that in there and use that as your filter as well.
Charcoal does a lot. If you have an upset stomach, I mean, you know, my mom used to just take a little bit of charcoal, all right, chew on that. I mean, I thought she was the craziest person in the world when I was little, you know, but now it makes perfect sense.
But yeah, and you know, and so with all these techniques, think about even going into your backyard. You know, if you have no water, but it rains and stuff. So if you dig down into your yard, you'll get some muddy water down in the bottom of that hole. And you can collect it up. Again, try to filter it as best you can. But the idea is to be in a state of mind where you're thinking, okay, how can I get water? Can I set up a plastic tarp, you know, out in the backyard, or an umbrella? Turn an umbrella upside down out during a rainstorm, you're going to collect up some water that way.
True. I mean, you'll never see the umbrella the same way again, but I mean, you
Yeah.
got to do what you got to do for
And
survival.
even the pots and pans like you had on the stove there a second ago, you could set those out in the yard to gather rain water as well. I mean, anything that'll hold it could be a life-saving situation later on.
That's right. And the main thing is to think about these things ahead of time so that you don't have to worry when an actual emergency happens. You've already got something in mind of what you're going to do, and water is not going to be the most important thing to worry about.
Yep.
So when we come back from the break, we're going to have our competition, and that's going to be a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Yeah, and like last time, I'm not going to brag about how good I'm going to do this time. I'll wait and see.
It was a little humbling, that last contest.
On the last episode, I kind of tooted my own horn, and Jason won.
That's all right, though. This one's going to be a fun one as well.
Yeah.
We always have a good time with that.
So
I
let's
love
pick
water.
a few things here.
Hi, welcome back to No Joke Survival.
Preparations for the average family.
I'm Jason Hill.
I'm James Blackburn.
And I'm Danny Linsky.
And on this segment, we've been talking about water and some of the things that you can do if you know in advance that the water is going to be shut off, but also things to do if you just walk home or go home and turn on the water and it's gone. You know, how to
is
collect
more
up
likely.
water and then how to purify it. And we're going to have a competition in a few minutes, but we actually did a demonstration of one of our water filters, and we have some footage of that. So
Yeah, some actual field footage.
yeah,
so-
we should check that out.
Yeah,
That's nice.
definitely.
And
So I'm really thirsty, and we're out of water.
Yes. Well, fortunately, we brought this handy dandy water filter, and so we found this nice stream. We can get some water out of here, filter it, and have some more drinkable water. And one of the nice things about this is that it was so lightweight, I could carry it with me easily on a hike. So-
Okay. So I'm unfamiliar with this filter system, and I'd love to learn how it works. So
Okay,
show
well,
me.
first thing we do is we take one of our empty water bottles and we're going to fill it with the dirty stream water.
Right. And so even if the stream water looks clear, it's not clear, and it's not.
Correct. There can always be bacteria or organisms in there that we don't really want. So we have that, and then you can just pour it
All right.
into there.
I'm a master at this.
Don't spill it. Don't.
Not a drop. Well, especially if you're not fortunate enough to have a flowing stream, it might be all you have. So.
Absolutely. And then that just screws on top.
All right. righty tighty. Oh my goodness. Leave it for the left-handed person to do it wrong. Right.
Okay. And then it's like a squirt bottle.
So you could you just drink it
You
out
could.
of this because it has this kind of top?
Yeah, you can just tilt it up and
All right.
do that. Or you could just
We'll show you.
turn that over and give it a little squeeze,
Ah.
even pressure. And so what this does is it just filters out all the nasty stuff, and you'll be able to drink this directly from the bottle.
This is really nice. It works so fast. I mean, that way you
It
don't
really does.
have to try and boil the water if you end up having a fire. But
And the fact that it's just so lightweight makes it really convenient when you're going out hiking. You don't have to carry a lot of extra gear.
there's more in there.
All right.
That. Look how much clearer that one is.
Yep, that's good.
That is awesome.
So, nice, clear, tasty water.
Bottoms up.
As I shoot it out my nose. That's it.
Hi, welcome back to No Joke Survival.
Preparations for the average family.
I'm Jason Hill,
James Blackburn.
Danny Linsky.
and I frequently have trouble drinking water. Always shooting it out my nose.
Yes, he does. Say
Sounds
it, don't
like a
spray it.
personal problem.
But, you know, that was a great demonstration of this one particular water filter. There's a lot of great ones on the market. And
I got one right here.
yeah, and
Check this puppy out too. It's got hoses on it and stuff, so you got, wait, sorry, that's the wrong, the wrong button,
You
but
do know how to
Yes.
use this.
yes.
I
So
have
it's just
used
a-
this before,
It's
so.
a pump, and you just
Yeah, it basically, you know, this is your pump handle right here. And it will just filter the water out for me. So why don't we get started?
let's test
Yeah.
some different things on what we can do for contest. And I'm going to join in this
So
time.
is the assembly going to be part of the contest, or are we just going to get it assembled and then go?
I'd
Whatever,
say-
whatever works for you, man. I'll do it either way.
All right,
So
well, let's just go with it.
All
okay.
right, assemble part of the contest. All right,
Okay.
ready, set, go.
Okay. We should have like some special music for this.
We should.
You've got a lot less things to hook up than me, man.
I
But
think
that's
so.
still part of it,
Of
though.
course, the danger with him, since he
have
doesn't
to-
have any kind of a funnel.
We'll see how
hint,
much of a
hint,
mess
you
I
should have a
can make.
funnel. You should probably go slow and steady as you start to put this thing together. This water is.
Yeah, this one takes a
Rather
few
dirty.
extra minutes, but if you're really thirsty, you won't care because,
It'll be completely worth it.
all right, check that puppy
So
out right there.
Fits right on top. He's already. Look at that. His jar's already almost empty.
Wow, there's a lot of dirt in there.
This has got to look funny.
That looks.
There it goes. Look how clean that is. Woo! Hey, I'm winning this
Hey.
one. Hey.
She's cheating.
Oh, what is that thing? Nice, just nice, clean, filtered
The
water.
clear winner. Ba-dun-dun.
So how can people find out about us?
Well, I suppose that now we can finish up here. If you want to find out more about us, follow us on Facebook. So facebook.com/NoJokeSurvival. There you can ask us any kind of questions if you want to find out a little bit more about any of the products that we use. You can also visit our website at nojokesurvival.com, and there you can find links to our videos for all of this. Oh, we lamb.
And some of these other ones right here, we have things falling on the ground. Oh, I think I may have wet myself a little bit.
If you're up on a mountain, you may want to go down into a valley, you know, or observe the area. Some lime.
Oh my God, what is that? What is that, dude? I think
Probably a Sasquatch. They're all over the place.
this is important. You don't want to wipe your backside with something that might be poisonous.
What you want to do is literally just sit down and listen.
I kind of blew my way through there pretty badly. There was a lot of outtakes. It's back, dude! It's back! Ah! Where is it? There it goes!
That's awesome. You never know what you're gonna find in the wild. Love it. Or some sort of area where you're gonna find people and be rescued.
Oh man, that hurts.
And now for a blooper.
Blur in the background. I literally got cancer. While I was talking, I could feel it crawling down my butt crack.